Greetings, everyone. Let me start out with some definitions for you, and then I'll get into my topic. So, the word I'm looking at is racism, and the dictionary definition is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized. Listen, the word minority is a problem for me, but I'm going to go with what's here. Or look at it from this point of view: the belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities, especially so as to distinguish them as inferior or superior to one another. So that's the working definition that I'm using here. And I want to ask a question. Why is it when a person who find themselves in an ethnic group or in a particular racial group, or find themselves in membership of a particular racial group, when these ones come out and talk about their experience with racism, why are folks in other race so offended? Now, what I notice, if I, as a black woman, come out and speak about racism or experiences with racism, I have to face some very angry persons from other race, particularly if I'm talking about racism as it relates to my relationship with other white folks or my experience with other white folks. I have to feel ashamed. I can't speak it. And yet, white people come out all the time and talk about racism, talking about how they want to change the system so that they are no longer racist, or they want to accommodate other persons of color. School boards do it. In political circles, they talk about addressing these things. In the police force, they talk about acknowledge it at times and saying that they're putting things in place. But if the person who is experiencing the racism ever come out and speak about it, all of a sudden you have to face these very angry people. Racism will never stop. And when we talk about racism, we know racism is a systematic thing. And so, not every person who belongs to a particular race is racist, but people who are from groups that are considered to be superior or considered to be, the ones who are the leaders of the world. These ones don't understand, and we hear about these privileges and whatever, and I don't want to use that here, but they don't understand that when you are a black person, you can't turn on and off your feelings when people ask you to. These conversations, when they come out here, we get to see the true racist. We get to see the system that does not want to change. A system that will not allow you to speak about your experience without feeling ashamed or feeling like you're doing something wrong is certainly a system that benefits from holding those, superior views or maintaining that thing that allows you to stay as superior even as you render others as inferior. I just don't understand it. What I'm getting, and I'm hoping I am wrong, and I know I have white subscribers as well, to explain to me that why, if I speak on issues that affect me and my family, and we call it what it is, because I'm not the one who come up with this term, and I don't understand how for many years we've heard about, the Stalin business over there in Germany, and it's called out. And, the rest of the world who claim that they're not like that man, will always put his face forward as if he's the only person in the world who is a racist. Where does that come from? Why is it okay for white folks to say somebody or something is racist and the person who experienced racism is not allowed? I just don't get it. Why do some white people, get into their feelings so much that they have to tear apart or shred anything a person who says I have experienced racism? They can't handle it. Why? And it's my opinion that the reason why folks get so upset, get up in arm about someone talking about their experience is because you too are a part of that system that want to maintain your position of power. You want to maintain your privilege. Otherwise, you couldn't be so upset about someone talking about their experience. If a person from a different race comes out and talk about their mental health problem, I don't question that. Even though there are times when we look at crimes, for example, certain group of people commit crime and they can always use excuse that they have a mental health problem. Whereas in my group, in my community, people are clearly having mental health issues, clear proof of it over a period of time. And if those individuals commit crime, they will never get to use the excuse that they have mental health issues. It will never change the fact that people are having a big debate about the story that Harry decided to come out and share with him and his partner. My thing is, what does he have to benefit from telling on his family, for telling his truth or supporting his partner? And so some of these women who are coming out here lashing out against Meghan are real hypocrites, if you ask me. Because, on one hand, we're like woman empowerment, and a woman comes out to say, this is how I feel. At least give her the opportunity to express her feelings. What would she benefit from lying, from saying things that is not the truth? And so people are quick to defend the one she accused and throw her underneath the bus. I just don't get it. Racism is a real thing. And I want to say that when Black people come out and express their opinion, biracial or otherwise, when we talk about racism or talk about our experience, it is so insulting to have others who have no idea about what you're going through to try to come in with their explanation. What we need to do in these cases is to listen to the person, and even those who are accused of this can have a conversation to say, I had no idea you felt this way, if they genuinely didn't know, or if they genuinely did not intend to let these people feel bad about themselves. They should be able to hear the people that are speaking about their experience. In South Africa, they had this thing where after apartheid was over, they invited the persons who suffered and asked them to tell their story. They already knew what the story was, what they were asking them to tell the story. And my question was, why do they have to tell their story? What's going to happen after they tell the story? So when some white folks are in a position where they can change the narrative, they will come and ask you to tell your story, and somehow, you telling the story, you look pathetic. But when some white folks tell the story about racism, all of a sudden it's valid. The validity of the story of racism is so powerful when white folks tell it. And this is why, as a Black woman, I don't want white folks telling my story, because the truth is the only time it is shown any kind of importance is when some white folks tell it. Why can't I tell my own story? Why can't I talk about my own experiences and not have to worry that I'm going to offend people? Or, if someone else from a different race comes out and say, this is my experience with Black folks, why can't I listen? Why do I have to get into my personal feelings? And I'm going to say here, it's because many of these ones do not change, but worst, cannot change. And so we have a relationship with people on an individual basis. I form my relationship with individuals in the white community on an individual basis. When I meet you and I get to know you and see who you are, I can determine based on how you treat me, how I should view you. But no one can tell me how I'm supposed to feel about my experiences. No one can validate how I feel because I already know what I have experienced. It's just disgusting to see how the young lady comes out and she's talking about painful things that happened to her, that made her get to her point where she didn't want to live. And people are trying to say that she has no right to feel that way. All these women who are supposed to be supporting other women hear a lady come out and talk about this. And instead of hearing her and supporting her, you're trying to throw her the same thing she's saying happened to her. The discrimination she experienced within and without. It's a world that I don't see changing anytime soon. People are benefiting from these terrible demonic spells that are cast in the world that make us fail to love self on the other. People who are hateful towards other folks don't love themselves. And so that's why for me, I pay no attention to lip service. People say all kinds of things, but they don't mean what they say. I walk as a queen. I spend every day understanding my worth. I don't look to people to endorse me. I look to either the power that is within me, or I look to nature to continue to show me that I have a right to be here. I am a queen in every respect. I am a beautiful woman. Don't wait for other persons to validate you, because they will not. And the issue that we face here is not a 100, not a 500, not 1,000 year thing. There are some people in the world that will never respect you, will never appreciate you, will never, endorse you. Get over it. That's all I can say to Black folks. And those who already have this idea that things are going to change, just take a look around you and see how people get up in arms when you try to ask that a certain system changes. Black people in America wanted to walk hand in hand with individuals who kept them hostage for hundreds of years. And yet people still are denying racism. Still, people are still questioning how could this woman come out and say this thing, and that they're lying. It does not make any sense. It will never change. The fact that a system is looked up on now, and certain things are unfolding and the truth is coming out, and people actually have the nerve to be saying that they're lying, when right to this very day, these individuals still rule the world, hold people as subject, free human beings as subject. And you still got people asking the question, how could this lady, how could this young man say this thing? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, how could racism exist? How could this, that, when you see people living in free worlds, still under bondage, still have to answer to other human being. And then you ask about racism. Listen, this might be very offensive to some people. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just speaking the truth. Nothing but the truth. So help me God. The same Bible that they make you swear on. Yeah. That same one that they put in there and tell Black people that they're second class and that they're, Gentiles. Come on, people. Open up. Wake up. Wake up. Stay blessed, everybody. Open your eyes, man. And stop with the nonsense. Move on.